Well, we are Erik and Erin Schmaltz, and we are from Midland, Texas. Sovereign Grace Church of Midland is where I currently serve on staff full-time. So I've wanted to come to the Pastor's College for probably over a decade, and have thought about being here for that long. But it wasn't till about this past year that the Lord really, in a series of events, got us to Midland, Texas about 3 or 4 years ago, and in conversations with our pastoral team, was able to come to a place of realizing, like, if this is going to be what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, it was to serve the Lord and serve His church, to be a pastor, I probably need to get some theological training, and I've never had that before. And so it seemed good to the team and good to us that this would be the year for us to come, even as a 42-year-old, to come and be a part of the Pastor's College and receive that training, which would be able to then let me serve the Lord more faithfully and effectively in the future. Before coming to the Pastor's College, I've had a lot of pastoral ministry experience. I've been on staff for many years. But I've never been in a setting where I've been theologically trained. And so being at the PC this year has given me a kind of confidence to handle God's Word, to understand how God's Word is put together, to be introduced to church history and other kinds of theological categories of doctrine that I just hadn't really taken a ton of time to study and to learn about. And so I think I'm leaving Pastor's College this year with a much better awareness of how God's Word is meant to function in the lives of His people. And I think I'm going to be able to serve with more confidence.
I think that God's used this year in our family to shape our family's rhythms and structure to be centered on God's call for Erik's life as a pastor in the future. I think to give us all a growing confidence that it's something He's calling all of us to participate in, me and our kids, in the building of His church, and in specifically the call that He has on Erik's life. So I think just planning our family time and keeping our own hearts current with the Lord has been a big part of this year in thinking about how God's called us to serve the church, in keeping our marriage centered in prioritizing God's roles that He has for us to play with each other, and our parenting of our kids, and just seeing how all of that is part of how we love and serve our church.
Probably my favorite class this year at the PC was Dr. Mike Bullmore's class on spiritual disciplines, spiritual formation, the theology of that. And Dr. Mike was just great at kind of giving us a sober understanding of what it means for us to meditate on God's Word, for us to treasure God's Word, for us to take God's Word's commands for our own holiness very seriously. And I especially appreciated the last assignment that we had for that class, where he asked us to go on a 3-hour solitude time where we took a Bible and a notepad and a pen and went and got with the Lord and meditated on His Word. And it was a rich time, a time that I'll never forget, just being able to read through the Gospel of Matthew during that time and write notes and interact with the Lord as I prayed over those scriptures. And yeah, it was a sweet time. So yeah, that very impactful class. And then maybe the other class, I think for both of us, one of the classes that was very important to us was the parenting class that we had with Brian and Bob taught some of that. Erin wasn't at the class, I was at the class, but we felt like we took that class together, because every night I would come home and we'd have a couple hours of discussion, it felt like, in bed, just kind of rehashing everything that I'd learned that day and applying that to our own lives and our kids. And I just felt like the Lord used that week to really advance our care for our kids, our love for our kids, our planning for how to care for our kids. So it was just a super meaningful class.
Yeah, this Pastor's College year has been really great for our whole family. I think we probably would argue with each other about who has gotten the most out of this year. I think some of our kids would feel like this year was for them. So it's definitely been a year that feels like our whole family has been here, that it has been for all of us. all four of our kids and both of us. I think I've appreciated so much the wives meetings that are planned. We have at least once or twice a month that we're getting together with either each other or the other pastors' wives in this church that have put so much time and planning into teaching us, into asking us questions about our life, helping us with very specific just current struggles that we're having, current questions that we have about ministry or parenting or marriage or just church life. So there's been so many ladies that have been available for that, which has been so helpful to have so many people to ask questions to receive wisdom from. I think I've been really encouraged to just be able to observe and listen to so many ladies, and the variety of gifting I think has been helpful to see. Just what it looks like for there to be common principles and commands that are followed, but in a variety of application in the way that the ladies in this church serve and serve their husbands and serve this church. Our kids have been so involved in the youth ministry, which has been a big part of their life this year. The teenagers in this church are incredible and have really impacted their life a lot. I think they've grown so much in what it looks like to have godly friendships, to desire to live lives that are holy and ways that look joyful and look like freedom. And so I think their lives will be changed because of this year for sure. And I think that's true for everybody in our family.
Well, if you would have looked at our marriage before we came to Pastor's College, there wouldn't have been like a whole lot of things that you would have been super concerned about necessarily. But man, the Lord has used this year to grow us in ways that we didn't even anticipate. I'll say me, I think I had a leadership style that was pretty spontaneous as I led our family. I think the Lord has challenged that, the weaker parts of that this year, and has given me a category for how planning can serve our family, and how a structure for our week, a schedule, a routine, how that can be something that the Lord can use to really bless my wife and bless my kids, and be a mechanism for growth for our family. So yeah, that's just been surprising to me. Anything you would say?
Yeah, I think our marriage has grown this year. I think in having the time to kind of pull away from what has felt like normal life just gives a different perspective, just on how we're doing, how everything looks, how our marriage looks, how our parenting looks. It just feels different when you're in a different place doing that. And so I think that's helped us to focus on some things. I think being out of just the normal routines of church life and ministry have allowed us to focus on our relationship, to make sure that our marriage is glorifying the Lord and how we're living toward each other. I think it's helped me to just be reminded and to grow in using my gifts to help my husband, and to think of how he's called me to serve is going to be next to my husband in the way that he's serving the church. And so I think in that way, it's just kind of helped to refine, I think, things that we have always agreed with and have always theologically believed, but just continued to grow in maturity, I think, in the way that we are walking out the things that God's called us to do.
So we've been in Sovereign Grace since 1999, so we've been in it for many years now, and the values that we've been bumped up against again this year in PC have been values we've always known about and believed, but just the immersion this year into those values is something that I think we couldn't even have anticipated how much of an effect that would have had on us. So things like our communication as a couple, and our affection for one another, and our planning goals, and just taking our own relationships with the Lord seriously as individuals, but then as a couple together, getting kind of put on the same page as a couple this year in ways that we just didn't even know we weren't on the same page. It's kind of crazy to think that last year around this time, we didn't know any of the other 8 families that we've gotten to know this year. 2 of those families being from the other side of the world. And over the course of 10 months or so, we've just gotten to be really close friends with them. We've shared a lot of life together. We've sat in a classroom a lot of hours together. We've played a lot of foosball together. We've had to sweat over a lot of exams together. So just the friendships that God has given this year have been super meaningful, and I think that there'll be lifelong friendships that we'll have, Lord willing, in pastoral ministry in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've gotten to spend a lot of time with the other families together. I think just being here, feeling like we're all doing this together has been a big part of the year. To just know that we're all kind of doing the same activities, all the guys have the same work that they're doing, and it's just helped to be an encouragement to each other. I think there's times where we've all had struggles or been in need of encouragement or in need of help, in need of just somebody to laugh with. And so I think just having all of that, it's felt very encouraging and helpful to the year. I think a year that felt like it was going to be very academic and a lot of work just for Erik. I think that part was clear, but I don't think we realized how much of our whole family would be doing life with these other families who are on the same journey this year. We've just grown in friendships in a way that people now can see us and tell in our face how we're doing. They know what questions to ask. They know, when we're needing to talk about something. Or I think our kids have grown so close, and it's been so great to see them love each other, for them to feel like they're with other people, that they've got friends. It's been great.
It's hard to quantify the effect that the Pastors College being connected to Sovereign Grace Church of Louisville, the effect that has had on our experience this year. I try to think of, like, if that were disconnected, if the Pastors College was just in some college campus somewhere and it had nothing to do with the local church, the effect, there would be so much lost in that. There's so much that's gained in it being connected to this local church. You get to watch a team of pastors putting into practice the things you're learning in the classroom each week. You get to watch a Sunday morning service and the gathering of God's people that are celebrating the things that you're spending 25 hours in the classroom learning about and chewing on. And you get to see relationships of the members of the church as they're doing one another ministry to each other, and you're learning about that in the classroom, but you come on Sunday and you just see it right before you. And it's a team of pastors who are tried and true. They're battle-tested pastors, and so these are men that we've grown greatly to respect, and we get to watch them loving on their flock every Sunday. It's a sweet privilege to get to do that.
Yes, we've loved being a part of this church so much. It's definitely been, the big part of the year has been being involved in this church together. I think the way that the church is postured toward our families was very clear at the moment we got here. Just to come the first Sunday that we came, and there were multiple people that already knew our faces from a picture on their fridge, that knew the names of our kids when they met them, like before they met them. And so the church is so postured to receive our families that it was just an instant feeling that we were a part of what was happening here, and that they wanted us to be a part of the year. And just the selfless love of the people in this church to welcome in people that they know are only going to be here for a year, to serve and to love, to nurture and encourage, knowing that the fruit of that is going to go somewhere else. And it's just a unique role that the church is playing in what's happening in the Pastors College. And we just appreciate and so respect that kind of love that's so selfless in giving away and giving to our families in order to serve churches that they don't know and won't see.
So another way that the church has just meant so much to our family during this Pastors College experience this year is it's given some of our older kids, we have teenagers, so some of our older kids opportunities to serve this year while they've been a part of the church. So that's just not something you get if I were going to seminary somewhere. So it's just been such a unique aspect of this year. If I were going to try to talk somebody into coming to the Pastor's College, a couple of things I would want you to know. I would want you to know that it's going to be harder than you think. God's going to be more present with you than you think He's going to be. You will accomplish more than you think you will, and you will grow more than you think you will. And that's been my experience this year. There's been nothing, I think, that's been more challenging this year, but at the same time, that's been more fruitful and life-giving and energizing and confidence-building. I think that's just what the PC has done in my life, and it's given me an appreciation for God and for God's Word that I don't think I had before this year. It has made me love God's church more than I did before I came here. It's definitely encouraged and strengthened our family, and I think we are going back into ministry better equipped and better prepared and better filled with joy, more filled with joy to serve God's people. Well, after graduation, we will be packing up our apartment here and heading back to Midland, Texas, where I am going to be working full-time on staff at Sovereign Grace Church of Midland, where I will begin the elder ordination process, and Lord willing, will maybe within a year or so be able to complete that process and become an elder in Sovereign Grace. And we'll continue to serve our church there in Midland, Texas.